we're going to get started because we got a lot of content to go over today. Where's everybody at? All right. So for those of you that don't know, we say it together. All right, to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. I guess if I give you guys food, it's hard for everybody to talk and eat at the same time. I see everybody taking a bite. It's awesome. God, family, then business, and of course our Y4C2Ts. All right, what bucket fills do you guys have right now? Any bucket fills? Anybody open a door for you, host an open house, do something nice? It's your opportunity to say thank you to them. Yeah?
We'd like to thank Jill Wink and Liz King for doing open houses for 2 listens that went live on Thursday.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And guys, all of the Buntinis are thank you to John and Gustavo and Lynn with Focus, so thank you guys. All right, any other bucket fills before we keep going? All right. So congratulations to our July cappers. Nick Bordeaux capped again, so congrats. And I have your cups downstairs, so see me before you leave, please. Royce Fortier capped, congratulations. Becca Jasperson capped. And Mike Weber.
M-K-E Weber.
All right, let me move all of this. All right, congratulations, Home Run Club. We had a lot of people in July. So Andrew Johnson, Becca Jasperson, Betsy Harrison, Bianca Reddick, Brandon Wachowski, Dan Schmidt, Don Shipley, James Krickeberg, Jay Bumgardner, Jeff Nevin, Jen Biro, Jeremy Reidners, Katie Nikovic, Michael Medina, Mike Weber, Nicole Asaki, Patrick Cotter, bless you, Pete Promisberger, Royce Fortier, Tamron Cook, Tina Reddick, Tal Down, Tina Conley, and Tony Jean Greco. So congratulations, guys. All right, we had a lot of big numbers for the month of July. So Emily had over 4 million plus in closed sales volume, so congratulations. And Miss Katie also had over 4 million. And Jeremy with over 2 million.
I know that guy.
Tina over 1 million, congratulations. And Mike with over 1 million.
Let's go.
Let's go's got a sweep going here. Nick with over 1 million. Royce with over 1 million. Karen Nemeth had over 1 million. Dan Callis had over 1 million. Told you guys we had a lot of big numbers this month. Carol Carlson online over 1 million. Congratulations. Andrew Johnson over 1 million.
I like that guy.
Abby had over 1 million. Congratulations. Let's go with over 6 million total in closed sales. Medina Real Estate with over 5 million. Krickerberg's with over 4 million. Notice the new logo. Wisconsin Premier with over 3 million. That's not nice. Level Up with over 3 million. Mine Right Realty with over 2 million. Where are they at today? Simplified Realty Group with over 2 million. Jasperson Realty with over 2 million. Goodland Collection with over 1 million. Teams with Wisconsin with over 1 million. Way to go. Connected Real Estate with over 1 million. All right, guys, so for individual volume, let me get rid of this bad boy too. Katie coming in, like I said, or Emily starting out at 4.5, Katie coming in at 4.2, Nick with 1.5, Royce with 1.3, Karen with 1.2, Dan Callis with over $1 million, Carol with over $1 million, Andrew Johnson with over $1 million, Abby with over $1 million, and Nicole Saki just missing $1 million, but heck of a month, guys. Heck of a month. Way to make the top 10. All right, July team volume, Connected Real Estate at 1.2, Wisconsin Haven Realty at 481, and Pinnacle Group. So way to go, guys. And then all of the group volume, let's go at 6.9, Medina Real Estate at 5.4, Krickeberg 4 million, Wisconsin Premier at 3.3, Level Up at just over 3 million, Mine Right Realty at 2.4, Simplified Realty at over 2, Jasperson at 1.4, Goodland Collection at 1.3, and Team Smith Wisconsin over $1 million. Heck of a month, guys. Brandon, there's Buntini's. Celebrating you guys, big numbers. So year to date, these are all of the units you guys have closed, both individuals, starting with Emily at 61 all the way down to Kaylee at 10, team 18 going down to 3, and group, let's go at 88 all the way down to 18 with good collection. So way to go, guys. Huge, huge numbers. You guys should be super proud. So, if you haven't seen downstairs, that is the biggest check that this office has ever given back since it's been open. So that is all of your hard work, and you should be extremely happy. So, that's why you guys have Buntinis today. All right, Charlie, close your eyes because they requested this. So, you guys made it rain with money. Seriously, though, biggest units ever that this office has closed, biggest company dollar that it's ever seen, and biggest profit share check. And it's only going to keep getting bigger as the office keeps growing. So, keep doing big, amazing things. You really owe yourself a huge pat on the back. So, way to go. All right, compliance. Miss Lisa, come on down. She's got a lot of stuff for you guys today.
Yep. Some reminders on MLS and altered photos, because I know it can be pretty confusing. So this is coming into play January 1st, 2027. It won't just be an MLS thing, it's actually a state law thing. So agents must disclose when technology is used to modify listing photos in a way that could mislead consumers. So MLS is on top of this right now, and then as far as the start of the year, it's not just MLS, it's also a statutory violation if you do not play by the rules there. What is considered digitally altered? Virtual staging, modifying structures or landscaping, changing views, including removing permanent obstructions. So there's an example where it looks like they added a lawn, which doesn't exist. So yes, that has been digitally altered.
They have a question.
Yeah.
If they just do like the night, oh my god, like
The twilight
view, or change the sky.
Yes, sky I believe is fine. I think we've addressed that down the line here.
Create a fire in the fireplace.
We'll speak on that. We'll speak on that. So what is not considered? Brightness, contrast, color correction, cropping, and sharpening. That's right. When you do alter photos, virtual staging or the like, you upload the original unaltered main listing photo first in the photo collection, and then you upload the original photo immediately followed by the watermarked altered photo. So any altered photo has to have a watermark. You use that, it's a Flex MLS watermark feature. You don't have to add it outside of there. And you have to include the phrase, photos are digitally altered, in the public remarks, not the private remarks, the public remarks. Addressing the fireplace. You do not have to watermark a fireplace that has fire digitally added so long as it is a functional fireplace that really does work. And if you change the sky, as long as it remains realistic, you do not have to watermark. And removal of clutter or furniture, you do not need to watermark. Does that answer your question? because it's removal of clutter or furniture. Those are not permanent items.
Staying in the home, yeah.
So you can remove those and not watermark that. Yeah. So question? Oh yes.
So if you, in the picture itself, if you put the watermark and then you just put in the picture itself that it was digitally altered,
You
does
have
that suffice then?
you have to have it in the
Does
public
it-
remarks. Yep.
Okay, so
Yep.
then you don't have to put it in the picture then? If you just-
No, like it has to be watermarked, but you don't
Right,
have to
right.
put in little comments under the picture besides the watermark.
Okay.
All right. And then just a note about celebratory social media posts. You cannot disclose terms of an offer. So even after closing, you can publish the sold price, but you can't disclose anything else about an offer. So just as a reminder, when you're celebrating your, post-closing on things, just the price. That's all you can say. You can say you had multiple offers, but we're not going to say anything else about the terms of the offer that closed.
When it comes to multiple offers, is it just that generic, or can you say you had 10 offers, or 10 plus, or 5 plus, or just use the word multiple?
I don't know that there's a rule about disclosing specific number of offers. If you're worried about it, just say multiple.
Yeah.
If you had 2, just say multiple.
Well, yeah. I was just curious.
Yeah.
I would just tell you from my experience, you will see agents get in more, I think you will start to see agents get in more trouble who are disclosing more sensitive information. And so if you have a question, I would lean more on the error of nebulous, or less is more. Because there has been, I've seen posts where people have disclosed sensitive information, and it's gonna, I think they're gonna start ruling more heavily on that.
Yep. Solid advice. Okay, so that's all we'll say on that. And then a reminder, settlement statements. A hard copy of the settlement statement has to be turned into the front desk. If you do not do that, then the whole process by which you get paid gets thrown off and you might not get paid. So don't upload settlement statements on your own into Command, because that skips over the process and we don't know it's happening. The MCAs don't know that you did that. The front desk receiving the statement is part of the process that pays you. If you skip it, then you're not going to get paid.
So guys, we've had a lot of deals lately where there's excess earnest money, and so in those scenarios, you still have to turn in that settlement statement. We've had a couple where agents are just accidentally, or admins are putting them into Command themselves, and they're maybe not even putting it in the correct spot. They're putting it in the CDA spot, or they're putting it in a different spot. It does not notify our MCA departments, our front desk departments, so that they have protocol and steps that they're doing to make sure you get paid in a timely manner. So yes, we're sitting on the excess earnest money, but we don't know that it's time for us to process it. And then sometimes it gets missed from a transmittal, so we have to pull it the next month. So if you want to make sure that you're getting paid in a timely manner, if you guys will just turn in those statements, it'll really help you and everyone involved.
Reminder, continuing ed, coursework due December 14th. When you finish it, you get your completion certificate at the very end. Email it to me. And then a reminder of where to call or text when you need help. And that's what I got.
Thank you, thank you. All right, education and events. PC coaching has a lot of stuff going on this month, so if you guys haven't been logging in, get on those calls. They're really good. And then there's a lunch and learn scheduled next week on the 18th for those of you not going to Mega Camp at 12 p.m. at the North Shore Training Room. Epic Mortgage is putting that on. And then for those of you that go into Mega Camp, I know Terry Lewis has a ticket for sale discounted for $750 if you're interested, last minute trip. You can see Terry Lewis or send her a message. And then Career Night is happening this Thursday here at the office. I will be teaching it from 6 to 7. So if you have friends, family members, someone that's reached out to you and is interested in getting into real estate and needs to know the basic information, this is your chance to help build your downline. So we have that going on this Thursday night. And then it is Charlie's turn. Come on up.
What's up?
Watch the many.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Love it. All right. Poke and prod with questions. This group's usually not very shy, which is a good thing. I'll give you some perspective here. For the last 3 months, I've been telling you not to listen to the national narrative around where the market is getting soft, where all these other things. I'm not saying that's here yet, but I think it's coming. We're going to start to feel some softness in the fall. There's some things that are showing up in our data that you need to pay attention to, and the reason I'm bringing it up now in August is to give you forewarning, so when it shows up, you've already done the work to be prepared for when it is here, versus what happens to 99% of the industry. They go a month without it closing, and they're like, what the hell happened? Why did my pipeline dry up? And then they get frustrated, and then they're like in this, oh my God, I can't get out of the hole. What I want to tell you today is there's some things that are showing up that you can do in advance to help you stay out of it, but I got to help you understand where it is. Make sense? Cool. The other thing I'd tell you real quick, listing agents, you're going to be wanting to pay attention because there are some major factors that are going on in the market that if you aren't getting ahead of it with your clients, you will get canceled. Okay? So a couple things to start. One, as it relates to your business, you need to be thinking about your model in this way. What's my brand and what's my promise? You have to understand it and live it every day, and you have to attack every day like it's day one. Two, you have to think about how data feeds your brand and how you think about how data is integrated in all aspects of your business in order to embrace it, to identify your vital signs. How do you implement AI to accelerate trends and insights in your strategies? And what are your marketing mediums in terms of where does your brand promise live and how do you communicate it with what intensity and frequency? I'd be thinking about that now, like especially as we head into Q3, Q4 of 26 and into Q1 of 27. Just something to think about. The second piece that I'd share with you is I want to lead with your mindset. We're coming out of a period where you've been running on a hamster wheel since March. And it's been a great run. We've had a great summer. I'll help you explain why that is. And just looking at the July results, you're feeling the impacts of it as it relates to your income. But the challenge of it is when you've been on a hamster wheel, and also, let's just be real, for those of you who have kids, like there's 3 weeks until school starts. A lot of people are on vacation this week, next week, and the following week because there's no more camps. There's nothing to do. And I wanted to ground you in a few concepts so that you're prepared for if the market shifts, how you're thinking about it. A couple things. Someone shared with me 2 weeks ago on a call on a Thursday, not in the real estate business. He said if you can change your attitude and energy level, you will watch your entire world change around you because the people desire to be in your presence. But it can only happen with intentionality and effort. In order to be attractive, you have to make yourself attractive. It starts with your attitude and energy. Okay? Second, and this is an excerpt from an article I read around the parallels of John Wooden and Ted Lasso, for those of you that have watched Ted Lasso. Okay? But basically, they outlined there were 4 main key points that made John Wooden and Ted Lasso successful. 1, they light up the space they occupy. 2, they aren't selfish or egocentric. 3, they infuse others with their energy, purposefulness, and generosity. And 4, they are realistic and optimistic because they don't sugarcoat challenges, nor do they second-guess themselves. Because the power of optimism drives their decision to pursue challenges. Kind of a foreshadow here. Okay? So I'm going to kind of lead with where did I think the market is, where is the market today, and I'll go into some of the things that I'm noticing, and I'll wrap it up with a boilerplate script for you. Cool? All right, couple things. 1, this was my predictions I gave you in December of last year. I said the market will be up 4%. At the end of July, the market's up 4% in closed units. Check. 2, I said the market will be up more than 8% in volume. It's up 8.7%. Check. I thought rates would stabilize at 6 to 6.2, but I also said the caveat to that was a geopolitical conflict. I didn't know where the geopolitical conflict would show up, but it did. It caused rates to spike. Today we're sitting around 6.7%. And then I talked about inventory, thawing and unlocking, which came through. Check. Demand demographics are in our favor, check. And I talked about the Wisconsin advantage, check. The only reason I share this with you is so that you know I do a lot of research to actually give you really accurate information. And so this is my way of kind of stunting to say, like, look, I try and lead you with really factual data so that you can make good decisions for your business. And a lot of what I've thought through is coming to fruition. Okay? I shared this with you before, but I would continuously share this with you again. We're in the position we're in versus what your peers in Florida and Texas and Arizona and California are feeling because we have a net migration issue. We have a net migration positive from a population standpoint in southeastern Wisconsin. The net migration spike is what's driving our demand, which is what's actually mitigating what's going on in Florida and California and other parts of the country. Okay? New inventory units. Couple things to point out here. We have had 4 straight months of new inventory units above 2,800 units. Okay? If you even just go back and look at 25, we only had 3 months. Not even. We had 1 month above 2,800. If you go back to 24, we didn't have a single month above 2,800. We've had 4 straight months above 2,800. Really, really good things because we can't do more deals unless we get more inventory. Okay? Positive sign to the market. And this goes to the commentary I made that inventory would begin to unlock because of de-thawing, right? Like people sitting sub 3% will have life events. They're naturally going to give up those homes. Those homes are starting to turn over. That's a good thing for us. Now, here's what I would also tell you. This is the latest 2 years worth of data. Here's the latest 24 weeks, just going back to February 23rd of 2026. I would also tell you, and this is normal based on seasonality, we're at the apex of our market. From now through the end of the year, you're going to start to feel the market slide. Very normal for it to happen. But just know, last year, the apex happened in May. This year, the apex happened in July, which means net throughout 2026. The results you saw in July should buoy what it is that you take home for 2026, but we're in a good spot. 2, total inventory units. Last month, we were at 6,855 total inventory units in the 5-county metro area. A couple things to point out. The tide has been rising for several months, and when you look at this on a weekly basis over the last 24 weeks, the tide is rising, okay? Here's what you need to hear as a listing agent. Your sellers have more competition now than they have at any point in 2026. You will see data and that supports that commentary, but they have to be realistic about their expectations because as we sit here on August 11th is a vastly different market than where we sat in June 11th. Even though it was 60 days, it shows you how quickly it can shift for sellers. Your sellers who have friends that sold in April, March, May, whatever it might be, vastly different market. You have to be very prescriptive in how you help educate your sellers to make sure that you can achieve what it is that they want to get out of their outcomes, but we're in a different market. There's more competition. I'll have more on that in a second. The other piece of it, expired listing inventory is up substantially. Sorry, this says June. It should say July. That was an editing error. July of this year versus July of last year was up 39%. July versus July of 24, it's up 73%. Guys, 2 things are happening. You have more sellers that are testing the market to see what they will get for their home and then pulling it off if they don't like their price. And 2, if you buy a listing because you outsize expectations of what the price will be, they are giving you the hook faster than ever before. By the way, if you don't believe it, here's the weekly expired listing inventory on a weekly basis in 2026. Point being is, you have to have a really sharp pencil and right-size expectations when you go into your listing presentations. And or if you're lead generating, I'd make a really strong argument. There's never been a better time to call FSBOs and expireds. Not necessarily FSBOs, but definitely expireds. There's more than there's ever been. Now I'm going to go into more macroeconomic conversations to help you understand a few things. Because I think rates and the commoditizing of rates is going to be an impact of where I think softness could create some issues for us heading into the fourth quarter of 26. One, I always look at crude oil futures because when you look at crude oil, it's a leading indicator of where rates will go. If you just look here in the past month, crude oil is up roughly 6%, and it really started in the beginning of like August 4th or 5th, which is last week. And if you just look at this spike right here from, let's just call it August 5th, to where it is today from a crude oil perspective, it would explain why you saw a rise from August 5th through to where we are today on mortgage rates. Okay? Again, I look at oil as a way of a leading indicator to say, where are rates going to go? It looks like rates are going to continue to trend up unless we get some relief on oil. It's weird. That's not something I expect you to tell your clients, but it's more so just to help you understand how do we predict rates. We look at oil. S&P 500, here's the other interesting thing. This is a good thing, and this is why you don't see buyers having consumer confidence issues, is the S&P 500 over the last 12 months is up 22%. Okay? Year to date, it's up 13%. And if you look in August, I actually don't know why this happened, and I'm not smart enough to articulate it. There was a big run in the first 2 weeks of August where the S&P really made a jump. I share that with you because that drives consumer confidence. If people's stock portfolios are growing, they feel good about themselves. If people's stock portfolios are going down, they start to get concerned, right? You just have to understand where your people's mindsets are as they think about their balance sheets and how they transact real estate. Now, here's where you need to pay attention, listing agents. I'm going to walk you through this. Okay, days on market in the month of July was 30 days on market. The reason why this is important to note is May it was 23, June it was 24, July it was 30. From May to July, we added 7 days on market. 7 days to a seller is an eternity. So I think the reason why we're seeing expired listings spike is some people are buying listings with price, or they're setting unrealistic expectations in terms of how quickly this will happen. And if you aren't helping sellers educate that the time it's taking to do these transactions is growing, you'll get canceled. But if you're right-sizing expectations on the front side, you'll be fine. Just be aware that it's happening. By the way, this is also happening nationally. Days on market are growing, which tells you there's some softness. Good news is here locally, our demand isn't necessarily getting softer because of the net migration and population, but you just have to know that like now days on market we're following, also internally, and I don't have all this data yet, our cameras have actually spiked. You guys are probably feeling it. When you have days on market increasing and you have cameras increasing, it also tells you that the market is starting to shift. Okay? Sales absorption rate, I look at this because it's the percentage of inventory that sold in a given month. We look at this just to check trends on where buyer demand is. This is healthy, which again goes to my theory that buyer demand hasn't really subsided, although rates will be an issue if they continue to rise. We just have more inventory in the market going on, so buyers have more choice. And I'll break that down here in a second. And then this is where you're seeing some of the impacts on pricing. Pricing has softened a little bit, but it's still healthy. When I say soft, don't mean alarm bells. Up 3% on the average, up 7.5% on the median, and up 7.5% on the average over 2 years, and up 10% on the median over 2 years. All healthy, but it's something I'm paying attention to as we head into the fall where we might see some appreciation softness. Again, a lot of my commentary right now is really focused at listing agents. Like, sharpen your pencil on pricing, sharpen your pencil on setting expectations of how quickly this will happen. Buyers have more optionality. There's more inventory on the market, and they're getting pickier, and we're seeing it because the data is telling us. There's a lot of columns and a lot of data on this. I provided you what happened in spring of 24. I showed you what happened in spring of 25, and I showed you what happened in spring of 26 to give you a 3-year historical average. But I just want to focus on the yellow column for a second. Just in July of this year, let's just look at where we were in March and April. We averaged 103% list price to accepted offer ratio. Now we're at 101. We lost 200 basis points. And when you consider 200 basis points on a $400,000 home, that's a pretty significant loss. Okay? Not loss, it's not bad. I'm just being realistic about seller expectations because buyers have taken back more control. The second thing, inspection contingencies. Let's just look at where we were in June versus where we were in July. June, majority had no inspection. July, 2/3 of our transactions had inspection contingencies. Okay? Of those that had inspection contingencies, 45% of them had a threshold with the average threshold of $7,000. And what's interesting, as buyers take back more control in the negotiating power, co-broke compensation went up to 2.36%. So when the market is more competitive, buyer's agency are utilizing their buyer agent commission to get more deals done. And as the market gets softer, they've taken back a bit more control. So when you go into a listing, or when you go into a presentation, I just heard this weekend from my wife. She showed a house on Sunday at 8 a.m. The listing agent said, just so you know, the buyer's agent's commission isn't included in the deal. And she laughed and said, how many offers do you have? And she said, none. And she said, all right, we'll see about that. More so being like, sellers don't have as much control over the negotiating power as they did even 30 days ago.
Yeah.
Right? So here's my, go ahead.
I was just wondering your opinion, like how much of that is actually related to like changes in the market versus just sellers being unrealistic? Because I feel like there's a tale of two markets. Like I wrote an offer on a house for $1 million. There were 6 offers just a couple days ago. I see great houses come on, they get a ton of offers, but then you have people who are like blatantly overpriced, and yes, they're sitting, right? So like how much of this is just like bad behavior, bad advice versus actual things changing?
I think it's 2 factors. I think there's a component of bad advice for sure. You can't ignore when every other part of the country is having softness, and we've been hearing about it since like May, June, that like naturally it will creep here. Also, part of your example of like $1 million home that had 6 offers, some of this is hyper local. Like hyper local. And so, I don't know, Greenfield, a $500,000 house in Greenfield and a $500,000 house in Jackson. The level of competitiveness might be different. I can just use the example because I live there, like Whitefish Bay. Yeah, it's still 6 to 8 offers, and yet I heard of a home in Tosa that didn't, so it's some of it's hyper local, some of it's, but I wouldn't ignore the fact that like it definitely seems like things be ready for a slowdown, and this gets to my point of where I will encourage you to. Is this couple things? Demand has remained consistent. Buyers are proceeding cautiously, and an increase in inventory is creating more optionality for buyers. The buyers haven't gone away, but we are paying attention to rates because if rates get above 7%, this thing could slow down pretty quickly. Just be prepared, right? 2, sellers or inventory. New inventory coming to the market is really healthy. Having 4 straight months at 2,800 is really good. We've also operated in a market that was like really depressed for inventory. We're seeing that unlocking of the sub 3% homes coming to market. Sellers have to realize they have more competition right now. They do. Their competitive set is who is on the market now, not who was on the market in June, right? Everyone wants to look at comps. Comps are comparables, but they're not who you're competing with today. More inventory is creating more options for buyers. There's 2 kinds of sellers, those that have to sell, which makes 75% of the market, and those that want to cash in on their equity, which is 25% of the market. These are the patient sellers. And just know expireds are increasing pace. Yeah, Mark.
Something that we've been trying to institute a little bit more, if we're working with sellers that are a little further out, and we always tell everybody to start early, like meet with us early so we can talk about it. We've been having people work with us on our contracts, but we tell them before we go to market, we're going to redo all the numbers again right before we list again, or before we list, only because we don't want to lock them in early without having that number figured out. But to be honest, even people that we've started the process with between now and then, there's been dramatic changes. And Tanner and I noticed this last week. We had a listing. Each had a listing on Thursday. The open houses were okay. They were, as far as number, but we don't have an offer on one, and we just got one that's lower than what it should be that we just received on. So we're definitely noticing. And I think the other thing to take into account too is that we're at 15,500 homes in the market, right, in MLS. That's a lot of houses. We haven't had 15,500 in a very, very, I don't even know.
Yeah, there's more. You know what the crazy thing is? And it's just the recency bias. That's still about half of what it used to be, but it feels like a shitload because we've been working in such a depressed market.
It does.
You know what I mean? And so it's just helping. Your job, quite frankly, if I'm being honest, you get paid to offer perspective, to help people navigate a complex situation. Your job is to help provide perspective. So here's my boilerplate. Buyers have more optionality, sellers have to be realistic. We're entering a new market. Capital markets have remained healthy, which gives buyer confidence. More inventory creating more competition for sellers. Rates are rising, we got to pay attention. Here's my point to the agents. You have to increase the importance of your lead generation activities. And it sounds like beating a broken drum, but it's the insurance policy to any potential downside risk of a market shifting. And if you do it now, you'll be fine, because you won't be sitting around when you wondered, why haven't I had a commission in 4 weeks? Oh shit, everything went away. Do it now, and then when it does shift, you don't even notice it. The challenge of it is most people don't react until something happens to them. My encouragement to you is I don't know where this is going to go for the back half of the year. I just watch what happens in other areas, which naturally comes to Milwaukee at some point. And then I try and look at the data to say, there's some signs here we should be paying attention to. Make sense? I'll keep you up to speed on what's going on. Lastly, just to finish it out, this is through July. Here's the year-to-date performance. As you guys felt in the month of July, our results are just a reflection of your results. As a whole, we're outperforming the market by 95%. It's incredible. I mean, what you guys are doing. 2, here's the rolling 12-month trend, so you can see where the separators between the haves and the have-nots in terms of productivity. And then, as I always just share from an inspiration and aspirational perspective, everyone desires to work in higher-end price points. You make more for doing fewer units. We outkick the coverage as it relates to the high end, and here's the separator of the haves and the have-nots. So you guys are doing incredible things. My word of caution, I would just go back to this, is be realistic about where we are and where we're headed. Do the work now, and it's the best insurance policy you'll have come the holidays. You don't want to get caught in the holidays where all of a sudden there's no market activity and you didn't do enough to put the insurance in place to make sure you had an income. Make sense?
Yeah.
Set realistic expectations with your sellers. Buyers have a little bit more leeway to play with right now, but they haven't gone away. There's just more inventory to work with. So we're in a good spot. Is just pay attention to it. Cool? Awesome. That's all I got. Any other questions? No? Sweet. Chop wood, carry water. Time to go to work. All right, guys.
All right, you guys have a lot of coming soon and buyer needs. All right, Jen Barrow, address is 1308 South 9th Street in Watertown, 3-bed, 1.5 bath, square feet, 1,200. So if you guys have anyone. Tony Jean Greco, 5499, 5-bed, 3-bath, 3,007 square feet in Milwaukee. And then they also have one for $169. This is that garage he talked about a couple weeks ago that has like the lifts in it and stuff. They're looking to get rid of. Greenfield, Wisconsin. And then $379, a 3-bed, 1.5 bath, 1,522 square feet. And this is on Highland Drive in Waukesha. Open houses Saturday and Sunday, 11 to 1. And then $324.9, 2-bed, 2-bath, 1,345 square feet on Emerald Circle in Brookfield. And then Saturday and Sunday as well, 11 to 1, open house availability. $399.9, 3-bed, 2.5 bath, 1,756 square feet. This one's on Teakwood Court in Sussex. And then $300,000, 3-bed, 1-bath, 1,064 square feet on Birchwood Ave in Milwaukee. And 3-bed, 1.5 bath, 1,456 square feet in Greenfield on Whitaker Ave. Looks like you guys are gonna have to reach out to him for more details on that one. $475, 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,678 square feet on Oak Hill Circle in Rochester. All right, Mark and Sheila Smith, Team Smith, Wisconsin, 479.9, 4-bed, 2-bath, 2,600 square feet, open concept ranch on a cul-de-sac in Heartland, vaulted ceilings, natural fireplace, private backyard with spectacular summer views. Seller open to single party before going to market. Off market now, open to single party. Steph Sosa, 535, 3-bed, 3-bath, side-by-side ranch condo, 2,339 square feet, bright and sunny finished lower level with partial exposure, 2-year new construction, and this one's in Greenfield, going live Friday. Taylor has one, 425, 5-bed, 3.5 bath, 3668 square feet on 0.4 of an acre, view of Camp Lake. 2 living rooms, 2 decks, 1 balcony, fireplace, master suite with master bath and walk-in closet. All generous sized rooms. It's in delayed until 8/13. And then she's got another one, 179, 4-bed, 1 bath, 0.4 acre, view of Camp Lake as well. Same description. Seems odd. Maybe that's the lot next to it. All right, does anybody have any that did not make it in that you need to go over? Nicole?
I do. I have one in Caledonia that just went live on Sunday. It's a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath. It does need some work at $289. The hardwood floors need to be refinished, just repainted, and maybe just a new bath vanity. So if you have a buyer, I'd love to chat.
Awesome. Anyone else? All right, guys. Well, that's it.